When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
At the age of about 10 or 11, I wanted to be a radio announcer.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Really?
Yes. My brothers and sisters were older than I were, so they listened to music all the time. And when they did dishes at night, they always had the radio on.
Okay.
It was WOKY, actually, out of Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got into the music of the 50s and 60s, and I've always wanted to be a radio announcer, and that's what I turned out to be.
Well, good for you.
Somewhat.
That's crazy that you knew that young.
I did, really.
Okay. And what about you, Damon?
Well, it kind of vacillated back and forth between speech pathology, a chef, and radio.
Okay.
And it worked out where all of a sudden
You
radio
burned too many things?
That's right, yeah, right. Overcooked, yes.
So you figured you better go to radio then?
Yeah, I just had that natural feeling for radio, and I talked to a couple of radio announcers back in the day in my home area.
Okay.
And all of a sudden it became a reality, and I went away to school in Chicago, and next thing I know, I'm going to Nina Menasha to start actually it was my hometown first in Peru, Illinois, and then after a year went to Wisconsin, and the rest is history. We love it up here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And how many years have you been in radio?
Since it will be 47 years.
Wow.
47 years this year.
Good for you.
Yeah, we enjoy it. Yeah.
That's great. And what about you, Lee? How many years have you been in radio?
It'll be 50 next year.
I thought you were only 50 years old.
No.
Oh, okay.
I moisturize.
What was your first radio job?
First radio job was at Fun 1115Q. Actually, when I first started, it was at it was called WQTC.
Okay.
I first started there. And then it transformed to Fun 1115Q. That was the first radio job I had.
Okay. And Damon, for you, it was in Peru, Illinois.
That's right. The station's no longer on the air. I don't know if that's harbinger of what happened. Anyway, they're still not on the air, but I spent a year there and did a little bit of everything.
Okay.
And did a lot of interviewing and some play-by-play and writing copy and so forth, and kind of cut my teeth.
What's the craziest story you have from all your years in broadcasting?
Oh, that's easy. I was out at Reedsville doing a basketball game, and Al Peters was the coach back then, and I had just wrapped up our radio broadcast, and I had my back to the floor on the bleachers, mind you, about maybe 8 rows up, and I missed a step as I was stepping down, to gather the equipment, and I fell backwards, fell down about 3 rows of bleachers, and thankfully I was okay. And lo and behold, a couple of months later, they're inviting me to do the speech at their sports banquet. And all of a sudden, at the end of my talk, Al Peters comes over. He's got a football helmet, a Reedsville football helmet with a weather vane up on top. And I'll never forget that. But that's probably my most embarrassing moment, even though there weren't a lot of people in the stands at that point.
Okay.
Easily, that was the most embarrassing.
Okay. All right. And for you, Lee, the question actually is, what's the craziest story you have from all your years in broadcast?
That's what I was hoping it was the craziest. Well, when I started at WQTC, I started part-time. I was working part-time here and there. And then I went in and started doing the morning show with John Barber. John had the morning show, but then we went as a team, and I would read news and things in the morning. And John was, I can't tell you everything I know about John, but John was a different type of guy. So one day I'm reading the news, and I'm reading, and John came up behind me, and I could kind of see him, but I didn't know what he was doing. And all of a sudden he lit the bottom of my news on fire, and so I had to read real quick. Get rid of that, but that was probably one of the craziest things that happened to me anyway.
Sure.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite interview that you ever did?
Not many people know this, but I went to La Crosse State University. That was the name back in 1970. And as one of our assignments, we had to interview someone that they set up for me, or for all of us. My interview was with Al McGuire.
Okay.
So I had the opportunity to go to Milwaukee and interview him at a practice that they were having. And it was, he was kind of, he was a nice guy, but he was kind of short. I mean, short with people.
Yeah.
Although he was really nice to me, and he gave me about 20 minutes, and he did a really, really good interview. And then he took me into the locker room to meet the players and stuff. And so I would say that was probably my most memorable interview.
Okay. And Damon, who was your favorite interview?
I would say Bob Knight.
Okay.
When Bart Starr was the coach at Oneida Country Club, they had a dinner there, and Bob Knight was the inspirational speaker.
Did he throw a
Stay
chair
away
at you?
from the
No,
chairs.
not at that time. No, he was okay at that point. But we had a nice interview, and I'd say that one stood out, along with maybe Billy Martin. I had a chance to interview him at old Milwaukee County Stadium.
Okay.
And so that was kind of cool too.
Good. What do you enjoy doing outside of the studio?
Boy, I guess the biggest thing I like to do is I sing. I love to sing.
Good.
And that's pretty much it. And
Do you just go around singing happy birthday to people outside the studio?
well, only if Lee is with me. So.
Yes. He sings lead and carries the pitch pipe.
Pitch pipe doesn't always work.
No.
What about you, Lee? What do you enjoy doing outside the studio?
I enjoy spending time with my wife, probably the most. I do play guitar, so I enjoy plucking on that a little bit, and visiting with the kids and the grandkids.
Okay. So I'm down to my last two questions, and I'm going to go to you first, Lee. Who inspires you?
My wife.
Okay.
My wife inspires me. I wouldn't be where I am today, or doing what I am today, or being the person I am today without her.
Good.
And her name is Den, I should have mentioned that.
All right. Well, that's great. And Damon, what about you?
Well, I would say there are several. I would say probably Tom Drill,
Okay.
locally.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Carter, the former president, and what he's done and what he's doing for Habitat for Humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife inspires me as well, Mary, and what she does and the type of person she is.
Yes. That's great. All right. Last question I have for you. If you, and I'll go to Damon first, if you had to describe one another in 3 words, what would they be?
Better be good.
Pressure's on, pressure's on. I would say friendly, passionate about radio and doing a good job, passionate about preparation, and reliable. I would say those 3 words would describe me.
All right. And Lee, what would you describe Damon in 3 words, or how would you describe Damon?
Careful.
I describe him as God-fearing, as being prepared all the time, perfectly prepared, and a gentleman.
All right.
Thank you. Very nice.
Very nice.
I'm Lee Douglas.
And I'm Damon Ryan, and we're excited to announce the Lee and Damon Fall Cookout Party.
Later this month, you'll have an opportunity to register for a chance to win a backyard cookout party hosted by us, Lee and Damon, as well as our friends here at WOMT Radio.
And not only will you win the party, but you'll win a new gas grill and so much more.
Go to WOMTradio.com today for all the details. Registration begins on July 20th.
The Lee and Damon Fall Cookout Party, presented by Festival Foods, Bartow Builders, and WOMT Radio.